Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hello, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. On this week's show, we're playing Harmony, the Fall of Reverie, Prose and Codes, and we're checking out the demo for Ghost Trick Phantom Detective.
Ah, that game.
Yeah. Back from the dead.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
As it were.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that game.
Yeah, me too. It's very exciting that it is going to get a second life on the Switch.
Yeah. I forget the guy's name. Shu Takumi, I believe, the creator. He had an adorable sort of overview video announcing the remake last week. I don't know if you caught that one.
Oh, I think that's when the demo dropped, right? They did a presentation and...
Yes.
Maybe? Yes, yeah.
I think so. No, it was amazing because
during the summer of gaming / not E3 event.
Yes, during fake E3 week.
Yeah.
He did the whole presentation in English, and then he was like, next time, please come to Japan and we'll speak Japanese. Because he was clearly had a lot of rehearsal in order to do this video.
Nice.
But it was very, very endearing.
Yep. I mean, this is one of those games, we probably talked about when we did our 3DS kind of retrospective eShop extravaganza, that it felt like for a while would maybe be lost with the 3DS. It was... What
was the DS game originally, right?
Was it DS or 3DS? 2011?
I think it was... Was it really 2011? Wow. I'm pretty sure it was just regular old DS, but...
Oh, wow. Even more so. But yeah, I mean, we relied very heavily on that software to do its thing. So it's cool that it has made its way out and is now operating on, not just the Switch, but apparently the game is also coming to Xbox and PlayStation. So
yeah,
awesome. Long live Ghost Trick.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. But there's a demo for it, and I played it, and I will talk about it briefly because in like 3 weeks, I'm going to actually play the game and we're going to talk about it again. So, yeah, mostly just trying to generate a little bit of free hype for the Ghost Trick.
Okay. Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah.
Before I get to that, I have an announcement.
Oh, all
which
right.
is after 3 months of working on this, I have done it. I have defeated the Ultima weapon in Final Fantasy XIV's Ultima weapon ultimate raid. So that whole struggle, getting the group together and just going at it endlessly week after week, finally, I don't know, come to a close, come to fruition, one of those things.
Nice. This is that thing.
This is that thing that I was working on.
Cool. Congrats.
Thank you. I have to say, it's a fun fight, but at the same time, it was just a relief the night when we finally killed it. It was like, this happens all the time in these raids where you're just going in there again and you kind of think, like, maybe this will be the night, maybe this is when we kill it, but you're never 100% sure. But on the fateful run, we were just all in there, doing our big attacks and all that stuff, and just watching the boss's health count down. And we're like, oh, it's really low this time. Oh, this might be the one. Oh, this is it. And it just, like, time slows down. It goes to, like, 1%, 0.9%. They added, actually, this like, sub 1% HP display just to, like, crank up the tension in those final moments, I think.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're just watching it. It's like, oh, it's like 0.2, 0.1, and then the screen goes black, and it says, like, achievement unlocked or whatever.
Wow.
And yeah, so we did it.
Cool.
What a relief. Not as bad as some of these other ultimate fights that I've been hearing about, but it was still just like, oh, I can't believe we finally did it.
I mean, I can't think of a lot of gaming experiences that require 3 months of practice to beat a boss, so.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, in our defense, we weren't going at it super hardcore or anything. Like, some people will do these things 7 days a week for several hours a night. And they managed to clear it much faster, but...
Well, I mean, the rest of us have to go to work sometimes. So.
Yes, so I thought this was a good balance. This was a more sort of socially responsible schedule for us to deal with. So it was about right. It was enough for me to handle.
Well, good job.
Yeah, thank you.
You're a role model for all of us adults.
Okay, yes, yeah. Somehow I managed to not get fired from my job at the same time.
Could I ask, do you roll into the next one? Is there, more worlds left to conquer, or do you quit while you're ahead and retire now?
I don't think I want to do another sort of ultimate level fight. I'm fine with doing the typical, like, high difficulty raids that come out every 8 months or so. But as far as doing another ultimate, this might be my only one. It was a fun experience. It was interesting getting to sort of see what an ultimate raid entails firsthand. But just hearing the stories from other people about the latest ultimate raids and just like all the other ones in the series, I'm just like, sounds like a lot. It sounds like you'd have to do that 7 nights a week sort of schedule if you wanted to do it in under like 6 months, because they're quite difficult. But let me tell you, so when this group that I've been running with first approached me and asked me if I was interested in this, I was like, even then I sort of thought about it. It's like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I want to commit so much to this. Mm-hmm. But eventually I just decided, yeah, let's do it. Let's do just this one. We'll see how it is. And I told them, like, okay, I'll do it, but I want to do this on Black Mage. That's the job I want to play, because that's sort of like my main job that I usually play in Final Fantasy XIV. Mm-hmm. And they kind of like balked at it because the way Black Mage works is it has this reputation for being one of the more difficult jobs to play, because it's like a spellcaster, right? So if you're casting a spell, you can't be running around at the same time. You have to like stop and plant yourself so you can finish casting your spell. So if you imagine having to do that, well, there are all these attacks coming at you that you have to dodge around and you have to specifically position yourself for. It can be a bit of a headache. So it has this reputation of like not being great, especially in like these ultimate fights, because there's so much movement and coordination. Mm-hmm. But I was like, well, if I want to do this, like sure, I could play an easier job. Like I could play a bard or something who could just run around as much as they want. But like if I want to do one of these ultimates, I'm only ever going to do one, most likely. I want to do it on Black Mage because like that's the job I play, and I want to be able to tell people like, oh yeah, I did it on Black Mage, just because I don't know to like prove it to myself that I could handle one of these on this supposedly difficult job.
Sure.
So they were like, fine, we'll do it. We'll probably have to make some concessions. Like other people will handle some of the more movement heavy stuff during the fight. I was like, okay, but I appreciate the accommodation.
Are your services so in demand that groups are like, fine, give him what he wants?
Yeah, no, people are just lining up to hire me for these things. No, that's not the case at all. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's not like the whole whether we clear this fight or not is not going to hinge on what job I go as. The argument they were making is like there are these jobs that are just so unbalanced at the level this fight takes place at. They just do like way more damage than they're supposed to. It's like, why wouldn't you play this one instead when like numerically Black Mage is objectively worse than playing as this other job? And I was like, well, I could play that job, but then, I'm not playing the job that I like. So I could, go play some completely other separate game and not play Final Fantasy XIV, but then that's doing something else. So eventually I convinced them, and 3 months later, I cleared the fight on Black Mage. And I was like, all right. But then looking back on it, I feel like it's a little bit questionable just because in order to make some of the mechanical sections easier, basically some of the other people in the group would end up having to take care of these like mechanics that needed to happen. The ones that involved running around the whole arena to sort of like make sure attacks happen in the correct places. So I feel like because of these accommodations, maybe my personal role in the fight was a little bit on the easier side compared to some of these other people. So I was like, oh man, so I set out to do this thing and sort of prove to myself that it could be done. But did I just inadvertently set myself up for like this incredibly cushy ride through this fight? So I think about that a little bit. I think that's kind of hilarious, but... At the same time, I did manage to clear it, so whatever. Like they say, a clear is a clear. And I've got my shiny Black Mage weapon now. I can go back to whatever else I was doing. I can go play other games. I can do things on a Friday night again. It'd be cool.
Zelda is still waiting for you.
Zelda, yeah, man. I think the first night we were scheduled to do this was when the first day Zelda was out.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, how is everybody still available for this? Like, nobody is just dying to hit over to the Switch and play Zelda instead. But no, everybody was so professional and just committed to the schedule we had agreed on. We was like, all right, I'll do this for a few hours, and then we can indulge ourselves with some Zelda. Yeah, I could go back to playing some more Zelda at this point.
Yeah. Nice. Well, congrats. That's exciting.
It is exciting. It was the first one of those that I've done, so I can check off that box.
The first and last.
Probably the last one, yeah. Here's the thing. So one of the big rewards you get from doing these, you get a big shiny weapon that you can just, wear on your back, and it's kind of a flex to anybody who sees it. They're just like, oh man, look at this loser.
Oh,
I spent 3 months working on this one fight. And I've seen the weapons from the other fights, and I'm just like, I don't know if I would wear that one. It's kind of ugly looking. So
you got the right one. You made the right choice.
So yeah, I think, from purely an aesthetical standpoint, then this is the best thing that I could have done. I've heard some of the other Ultimates. There's like one other one that's supposed to be very fun, and the weapon is not hideous. So I was like, ugh, do I want to do that one? I don't know. I'll think about it. That's something I can decide later on. But yeah, I'm very wary about getting into a situation where I'm just like not enjoying the game anymore, and it just has become sort of a sunk cost sort of situation. Like, we've spent 3 months working on this fight, and maybe we're not up to the task to clear this thing. So that would be very frustrating.
Sure. And you don't want to be the one who goes, listen, this isn't working. I need to see other people.
Yes. Yeah. There was actually somebody that in like one of my link shells, it's like one of the sort of in-game chat rooms, who was working on the very latest Ultimate fight. And they were doing it like roughly part-time job hours, which I was like, that's horrible. But, if you really enjoy it, I'm not going to judge. So go ahead and do it.
Go for it.
And they did this for like 4 months, and they got to the very end, and they were just like, man, the whole group is stressed out. People are like at odds with each other over having been working on this thing for so long. And they like disbanded at the very end of the fight.
Oh no.
I was just like, oh my God, that's like the worst case scenario. I mean, the worst case would be you have like health issues because of this, which I think thankfully they did not experience. But can you even imagine like, oh, they were so close. And in order to do that, I mean, I thought about like, if I ever wanted to clear this thing again, it probably wouldn't be with the same group. I'd probably have to get a whole new group, and then everybody would just have to get trained up. It would take 3 more months to clear it again.
Yeah.
But man, what a horrible situation that would be.
That's one, don't do a hobby that stresses you out and freaks you out.
Yeah. That's the key takeaway of this is like, as soon as you're not having fun, think about what you're doing and whether you should continue doing that thing.
Yeah, that's rough. I'm Again, I've never been in a circumstance like that before, but
yeah,
it seems like pretty unique to the Final Fantasy experience. Maybe
I'm sure there's some other like goals I've set for myself in other games where I'm like, I'm going to do this stupid thing, like collect all the feathers in Assassin's Creed or whatever, something like that. Where I'm like, just like, I'm going to 100% all of the levels in this game, and then at some point I'm just like, this is not fun anymore. And at that point I've collected 75% of the feathers, but am I gonna like, how bad is that last 25% going to be?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Not many of those in my gaming career, fortunately.
It's funny you were talking about earning a unique weapon that you get to wear as sort of a badge of accomplishment. I was thinking about the ostrich hammer in Red Faction Guerrilla.
I also thought about the ostrich hammer.
And that, and for those who haven't played Red Faction, 1, you should play Red Faction Guerrilla. And 2, the multiplayer component of that game had skins for your own personal hammer.
Your sledgehammer. It was like the melee weapon in that game.
And the ultimate skin, like the pinnacle one, the one that you've upgraded the most above all else, turned your hammer into an ostrich for some reason. And you were swinging around this ostrich, knocking over people and buildings and things like that. And there were a bunch of different steps on the way. You get the rainbow hammer and stuff like that. But in our play group, and we played this game a lot.
We
a
did.
lot.
Yes.
DJ had the ostrich hammer before anybody else did. And not like by a couple of days, but like for months DJ had. Before the next person even got close. And then at one point we all started getting it pretty quickly in succession. Yeah.
Well, the thing with that is it wasn't
but you
based
were way
on
in on that. Way ahead of all of us. Yeah.
It wasn't really based on like a specific achievement or doing anything. It was just accrued this much experience points. Or this many experience points. Yeah. So it was like you could earn XP faster if you were getting more kills or winning more games or whatever. But bottom line is, you play enough Red Faction, you will eventually get that ostrich hammer. So I just put more hours into it than everybody else.
Mm-hmm. When we weren't playing, DJ was still grinding away at it, earning. Yeah.
Oh man,
I distinctly recall us all showing up one night, going, "Look at this guy with the ostrich. Where the hell did that come from?"
That was probably, it was like 2009. I think that was some of the, like, my heaviest year for like online multiplayer gaming. It was like Red Faction and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. But I remember playing, like, we would have our game night, and then it'd be like, all right, guys, good games. Have a good night. See you guys next week. And then I would like have dinner or whatever and just turn the game back on. And then like all the like late shift, like quote unquote late shift people on my friends list, the people who I like, they weren't necessarily like working weird hours or whatever. Like that's just when they would sign on, would show up and they're like, oh, playing Red Faction? Like, yep, let's do it. And we just play it till like 2 a.m. It was great.
Oh my God.
But yeah. I did think of that ostrich hammer.
So this is, there's a pattern here. I mean, there's a few years in between, but there's definitely a pattern.
Yeah. Although, I mean, it's slightly different because I was like, okay, there are plenty of things where, you can just do them over and over, and eventually through like skill or random luck or whatever, you will get enough wins or enough points or whatever in Final Fantasy to unlock this thing that you have your eyes set upon. But getting one of the ultimate weapons is a little bit more involved.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of a trophy
not quite
in
as
a lot of ways, right?
Flow charty, yeah.
That's fun. Cool. I'm glad that both occurred to both of us, because as you were talking about it, I'm like, this is just the ostrich hammer all day.
So I was like, man, I think, I can't remember why specifically I thought of the ostrich hammer, but it was very similar. Like, I typically don't even display what weapon I have in the game because I'm like, not a lot of the weapons I have are like a huge flex, right? But I was like, I spent so much time working on this weapon and also like getting the ostrich hammer. Like, you bet I'm going to just display this thing. I'm just going to wear this all the time.
Yep.
So
excellent.
Yeah, man, there's no, the ostrich hammer was quite unique. I was going to say there's not really, like, there's no equivalent. There's no ostrich like weapon for the black mage. But then, like, why would there be? Like, why would there be a big ostrich that you swing around? It was something just solely unique to Red Faction Guerrilla. Yeah.
And had no context either, though. It wasn't like, oh, it's an ostrich because of.
No, I was trying to think, like, as we were talking about this, like, why was there an ostrich? It wasn't, like, from the campaign or anything. I think it was just an in-joke among the dev team or something.
I would assume so, yeah. I don't know if we ever got an explanation on that.
I mean, it's brilliant because, I don't know what I was going to say. I was like, an ostrich is vaguely hammer-shaped, but it's not really. It does have a big, long neck that you can swing like a hammer.
Oh, yep. Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was a good game, though.
It was, yeah. Legendary.
Yeah. Okay, so just for my satisfaction, I Googled ostrich hammer, and Google image search does not disappoint. So if any of our listeners are curious what this thing looks like, do yourself a favor and just do a quick Google image search for ostrich hammer.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like an ostrich. You just imagine somebody carrying an ostrich.
Yeah, and you're like swinging the head and beak.
Yeah, well, I mean, you really got to find a clip of somebody like taking down a building with it because it looks ridiculous. But anyway, well, maybe if there is one of those that exists, we'll put it in the show notes.
Good times.
Yeah, man, they just never made another version of that multiplayer mode, which is disappointing.
Nope, that developer didn't make another game ever. They just disappeared.
Yeah.
That's not true either, but...
Well, I mean, it was like they made that one, but it didn't have multiplayer in it, so...
Right, yes,
like, what's the point?
It had co-op. Yeah, I think, and I don't know that there was a lot of global appreciation for that multiplayer mode.
Oh no, it was
We were
very,
keeping the
very
lights on
niche.
over there for a long time. Yeah.
That was when like every single game coming out needed to have a competitive multiplayer mode. So
Right.
I feel like the audiences were very split.
Yeah. I mean, we had experiences though where like the devs would pop in and play with us and chat with us and stuff like that. And I mean, it was pretty unique and rare. I think that
Yeah.
we had latched onto that thing as aggressively as we did and kept it alive for as long as we did.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite multiplayer modes. Red
Oh yeah,
Faction.
no doubt. Cool. All right. Well, congratulations on your accomplishment. I apologize for detouring into Red Faction talk, but
No.
it's
Always
that's
happy
quite
to
a
talk about the ostrich hammer.
polish it nightly, I'm sure.
I mean, I leave that to up to the ostrich. I don't know what the animal rights people would say about that.
Yeah. So we should segue awkwardly to the games we've been playing recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of these you want to talk about?
We already kind of started on Ghost Trick, and like I said, I don't have just a billion things to say about it at this point, but to encourage folks to check it out, this is, as we mentioned, an old DS or 3DS game that is getting a new life this year somehow. With kind of this HD up-res remake, I guess. This is called Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Yeah, originally a Nintendo game, I think, by the developers of Ace Attorney, was it not?
Yeah. Was that Shu Takumi? I forget if he was the director on all of them, or I could be way off, but he's typically sort of the guy who talks about these.
The hook here is that it's a murder mystery. You are the person who has been murdered. That's not a spoiler. It happens in the first couple seconds of the game. And you find that you have the ability to kind of move your spirit from item to item in the environment and exert a little bit of control over inanimate objects. And you use that power to, save some lives, to maybe solve the mystery of your own murder.
Mm-hmm.
Each of these scenarios kind of plays out like a bit of a puzzle game. You can sort of do the right thing at the right time. You have to haunt the right inanimate object at exactly the right time and place to sort of disrupt the flow of events to save lives and solve mysteries. It is a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun back in 2011 when I played it on the handheld device, and it's a lot of fun now playing it this year, and even sort of knowing like, okay, I get the hook, the trick. I know exactly kind of what I more or less have to do. A little bit of the mystery is gone because I still remember some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's still super charming. It's just beautifully animated. The music is exceptional. I think it has just one of the best soundtracks.
And I don't really remember the music, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
I was too taken by the character art and animation, like you were saying.
Yeah. Just buttery smooth. Like I can't think of another game that looks like this. You get these awesome kind of vignettes. Essentially, you get kind of these multi-screen scenes full of things in the environment and characters interacting and stuff like that. And you kind of go into ghost mode and you can hop from item to item. But when you kind of turn off ghost mode and the real world time starts, everybody starts interacting and walking around, and it's just super fluid and not even, I don't know. Again, like I don't know what to compare it to. I can't think of a lot of games that look like this. It's just beautiful, eccentric characters. Excuse me, kind of in the vein of kind of some of the crazy characters from the Ace Attorney series. A lot of really interesting hairstyles and colors.
Yes.
Just kind of gliding through their environments. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, that was it kind of looks like an Ace Attorney game, but everything is much more animated. Like in the Ace Attorney series, you typically just get those big portraits of characters as they're standing behind the whatever that is, as they're in the courtroom sort of gesticulating. But in this one, they're, characters are walking on the screen and doing all these crazy animations that are just like full of character. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. And did you get some of that later in the Ace Attorney series? You start doing the investigations out in the field and stuff like that. They got infinitely more elaborate, I think, as that series went on. But yeah, I think the Ghost Trick really kind of kind of owns that in a lot of ways. Is a lot of stuff happening in some of these scenarios, and I just remember sort of like trying to squint at the tiny screen on the, the low res 240p screen or whatever it was on the DS, trying to sort of figure out what the hell is happening in the environment of the background of this game. And it looks gorgeous on the Switch. It's quite beautiful. What is it? Up-resed, upgraded for HD screens.
Yeah, because it was all in 3D, right? Even though it was kind of very sort of stark, like pixely 3D on the DS.
Yeah.
But I imagine, it just looks even better now.
So the demo is great. You get to play the first 2 chapters. It kind of sets the scene, sets up the scenario, and then it kind of gives you the powers to do kind of one of the bigger scenarios early in the game. It's a pretty substantial demo. And the cool thing about it is your progress carries over to the main game should you decide to get it. So if you complete chapter 1 and 2, you can put down your money and buy the rest of the game, and you don't have to replay chapter 1 and 2. So this is really, really cool. I mean, it's again, like we were talking at the beginning, really awesome that it's kind of getting a second life. It's not going to, disappear off into the past with a couple of dead consoles, but someone's doing the big work to kind of keep it alive and hopefully get it in front of a bunch of new players. So definitely would recommend folks check out Ghost Trick on your device of choice.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was on iOS at one point.
True, it did come to mobile. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Oh no, it's still here. Okay, well, all right. So it's not completely stuck on the DS, but either way, it's great that they're doing this re-release.
Yeah, and on the DS, it used the stylus, obviously, and the touchscreen to navigate through the environment as the little spirit icon. And on the Switch, I played the demo on the Switch. They've just moved everything over to controlling with the thumbsticks. And it works perfectly. There's no rub there at all. It actually feels quite natural. So, I was worried. Sometimes games make an awkward transition, I think, from touch interface to controls. The worst case scenario is sometimes you end up with like the little on-screen cursor or the little hand you have to move around. And no, it works beautifully in Ghost Trick. It seems super intuitive, and I had it kind of almost immediately.
Did this use the second screen at all? I can't remember. Just wondering how they would handle that on the Switch since there's only one screen.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, on the DS, you would go into ghost mode and it would move kind of the overlay of the world onto the bottom screen so that you could navigate around with the stylus. And then you would turn off ghost mode and go back to kind of real time. And the screen would transition back up to the top, and you would get your animation and the scenario would play out. On the Switch demo, it all happens on the same screen. So you go into ghost mode and like the overlay just happens on the screen in front of you. So again, it feels pretty seamless. I don't find myself wanting for anything else.
Okay, so it's not like it really relied on having 2 screens active at the same time?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it worked on the DS, obviously, but
yeah.
They have clearly found a way to make it work on a single screen.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
When does this come out? It's like in a couple of weeks?
June, I think 29th or 30th. It's right at the end of this month. So it is just a few weeks away.
Cool.
Yeah. Keep it, support it. If this is fun to you, check out the demo, play it. If you like it, buy it. Maybe we'll get Ghost Trick 2. That'd be cool.
That would be a shock.
I'll
have to go check out the demo, just if only to just hear the soundtrack again to remind myself of it. Maybe we'll get a fancy soundtrack re-release. That would be interesting.
There is a collector's edition in Japan that is a copy of the game, obviously in a fancy case, and comes with a 2-disc soundtrack.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers that question.
So that is out there. If you're an avid collector or a big fan, you do a little Google foo. I'm sure you could find somebody selling that on the internet right now.
Nice. Wow. A Ghost Trick Collector's Edition is not something I would have foreseen for 2023, but that's pretty cool.
2023 bingo card? No.
No, I mean, it was right next to the flashback Collector's Edition Conrad Hart statue.
With a collectible statue, correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It truly feels like this game has been kind of given a second life. It was one of these little niche things that kind of at the end of the DS and 3DS life, I think a lot of folks were, like me, were kind of wistful for, and it's cool that Who is the Sega is not going to let it die.
It's Capcom, right?
Capcom, excuse me, pardon me.
Okay. Unless there's some like publisher shenanigans happening, but I have no idea.
I would like to issue a retraction.
Oh man, well, cool. Well, I like Ghost Trick. I have been playing this game Harmony: The Fall of Reverie, which is a recent release from Don't Nod. They in the past they've created Life is Strange, the first couple of Life is Strange series, and Tell Me Why, and some like kind of weird action stuff. I was actually I was reminded that they made that Remember Me game, which was very, very different from what the sort of games they have become known for. It was like an action RPG, more or less, right?
First game, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And then,
but since then, they've been doing a lot of stuff with sort of like these narrative-heavy experiences, like Life is Strange, or sort of in the same mold as like those Telltale games, very story-based and revolved a lot around player decisions and branching narratives and stuff like that. And Harmony: Fall of Reverie feels sort of like it is like it veers away from the more like cinematic presentation that you got in Life is Strange and Tell Me Why, and is sort of like putting the like interactive fiction flowchart front and center. So I'll get to that in a second. But basically, so the premise is this takes place in what seems like a near future version of Earth? ? They talk about it. The city that the game takes place in is in the Mediterranean. So I was like, okay, that's a real place. But then you you get introduced to the region and so sort of the forces at work, and there's like this kind of dystopian like mega corporation which is surveilling the population, and everybody's suspicious of them, and they're making people disappear. And I was like, okay, so I feel like we're still a few years away from that completely happening. So near future, let's say. But you play as Polly, who is this woman who has come back to the city after a few years away because her mother has disappeared, and she's trying to figure out what the deal is. So you go back to sort of her childhood home and find this necklace in her mother's room, and upon picking up the necklace, you are whisked away to this sort of like alternate reality world, like another dimension, where you meet, I think, these people who claim to be the embodiments of different, like basically just facets of humanity. And they call themselves the Aspirations, and they go by names like Bliss and Power and Truth, and there are a few more hanging out there. But it all feels very like sort of new age hippie, where it's just like, oh yeah, I'm the embodiment of truth, or justice, or whatever. Or another one is Bond, so he is the characterization of just like connections between people. And the deal is they've brought you here because you, Polly, who is for some reason known as Harmony in this alternate dimension, have the power to see the future, and you need to use this power to sort of manipulate events that prevent some like disaster from occurring in the real world, because inevitably these two realms are linked together, and if something disastrous occurs in the real world, then the alternate dimension will be affected, and vice versa. So there needs to be some sort of balance that you maintain through your clairvoyant powers, and they are sort of there to guide you along the way. And then you just get sent back to the real world, which suddenly seems very, very mundane, and you resume your quest to find out what's happened to your mother. So there's a lot to take in the first hour or so of this game.
It was quite a setup, yeah, I can tell you.
It feels like it's they're not letting you in on everything that's going on in this game, like what your character's past is, or why she might have this connection to the alternate dimension. Oh, the alternate dimension is Reverie. I forgot to mention that. So that's where the title comes from. There's a lot of like sort of world building jargon that they throw at you in the opening hours. And I'm just like, okay, thankfully there's a codex where you can go up and look up a lot of these terms later on, because at some points I was like, I'm gonna need a refresher at the end of this chapter just to like, it's a lot to take in. But after that, they you just go back to the real world and continue this investigation. You meet up with some of your like friends and family who were living in this the city, and they help you out in your quest. And in order to accomplish this, it's a lot of like sort of visual novel sort of dialogue screens. Or it's fully voiced except for when you're having like your internal monologue. So it's kind of fun. You can just sit back and put it on autoplay, and it'll sort of play out like you're just watching a movie or a TV show, which is kind of nice. It's not an incredibly high impact video game, but between scenes, you'll get presented with this tool called the augural, which is essentially that story flowchart that I was talking about. It shows you the different nodes along basically the course of a chapter, and it'll show you exactly where they branch into alternative scenes. Oh. And to some extent, you'll see sort of the like contingencies on like, so if you go this route, this will lock you out of this other route. And you can kind of plan your route through the game, although they present this as like one of the characters describes it as a board game. And like the more I play the game, the more apt that seems to be, because you'll see these nodes, but then there'll also just be like, well, this one, you need to have a certain number of like crystals in order to unlock, and you unlock these crystals by choosing paths that align with those aspirations. So if you choose a particularly assertive path, you will get a crystal from the power aspiration, and then you can spend those later on to unlock different nodes. And then there are all these other conditions, like sometimes you'll need to play through a certain number of nodes to even make this other node available, or like I said, you can get locked out of being able to access a node completely depending on the decisions you've made. One of my favorite ones is it's called what is it called? The inevitable node, I believe, which is, it's like this node that whenever it pops up, whenever you meet its unlock conditions, you have to go look at that node immediately. So you have to go view that story sequence. So whatever you're end up doing, something more important has happened, and you have to go over to that one and deal with the consequences of whatever is going on there. So it's almost like this weird puzzle game. Like, I thought what was going to happen is it was going to be one of those things where you just go through the story, and then these other, alternate paths are visible to you, so you can sort of see like what would have happened if I had made a different choice at that point. Mm-hmm. But it turns out it's much more strategic. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do you have the ability to like go back and make different choices, or?
Not so far.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand sort of the value of showing you kind of the path not taken.
Yeah, it's a little questionable. I think it's more, it shows you the whole flowchart to give you an idea of what could potentially happen. So you have some idea of what you might be locking yourself out of. But at the same time, it's not incredibly detailed or like how it describes each node. Sometimes it'll just explain like, oh, if you talk to this character at one point, or if you support them rather than, disagree with them or go align yourself with another character. That's sort of like the gist of a couple of the branches. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't really explain like what specifically happens in that scene. So it just gives you like this very vague idea. And combining that with all the weird little like unlock conditions and sort of like crystal currency that you need to spend to get to these nodes, it becomes like weirdly strategic. Where in my most recent session, I had this huge branch. I think it was like the first time I had a branch, or like a 3-way branch. And I could see like one of these paths unlock this node that was like way, way farther down the flowchart than where I currently was. And I was like, "Whoa, what's that about?" Like the node it unlocks doesn't even go anywhere else. It's just sort of like a side story node. And I noticed that in order to unlock that node, if I eventually reached it, I would need a specific loadout of crystals. So I just started looking at the different branches and was like, okay, so I get one crystal if I do this path. I get another crystal if I do this path. Or is this really the path I even want to do, though? Is this the one that makes sense for, like, how I think Polly would get through the story? Is there a way to do this, like, sort of satisfying, like, the story direction while also earning the appropriate number of crystals to get to this node, which I don't even know what the node is. I'm just curious to see what happens when I get there, because I've never seen a node like that. So making a lot of weird, sort of not fully informed decisions about sort of how to guide the storyline in this game.
Right. To some unusual node off in the distance that you don't quite understand the value of.
Yes, exactly. I'm just like, my curiosity has gotten the best of me in this case. So that's a little weird. I'm not sure how successful that is, because when I first came into this, I was just like, okay, it's cool that you can see the whole storyline. So maybe it'll just be a completely transparent experience. Maybe I just take the story exactly where I want it to go. But in after playing it for a few hours, it's not quite as transparent as I was expecting. In fact, it's quite, I don't know, at times, sometimes I feel like I'm making decisions just based on, like, the crystals that are available and not necessarily what I think would make sense for the plot.
Oh, gotcha.
For the most part, it's been okay, though, but there's always just this weird conflict between, like, if there were no other considerations, what would I say, or what would I have the character do at this point? Versus in Harmony, I'm just like, oh, well, don't know if I would love for the character to say this, but I will get 2 chaos crystals, so better do it. So really interesting sort of narrative experiment. That seems to be Don't Nod's sort of thing, where they started out with these Telltale style things, and they've been continuing to make those, but then, like, occasionally you'll get a weird offshoot like this Harmony game, which once I wrap it up, I'll probably have a better idea of how successful it is. But so far, I've been having a good time with it. It feels... It's definitely a fresh take on this sort of game.
Do you feel like that kind of crystal value structure of it is deliberately kind of influencing you to make oddball decisions?
Maybe a little bit.
Is it a bug or a feature, I guess is the question. Is it built to sort of encourage you to deviate from traditional role playing and maybe, get a little weird with it?
I think so. They probably had good intentions when they designed it, but I think there are strange consequences to it. I've seen it compared to the, like, Paragon versus Renegade routes in Mass Effect. Because another thing that's happening in this game is that in order to, or like, I don't know, one step to saving the balance between the two worlds is you need to basically nominate one of the aspirations to be the lead, and then they will, I don't know, so somehow that solves a lot of problems. But it feels like you are being nudged towards having a preferred aspiration, one of these 6 characters. And then you can kind of imagine, or at least I've been imagining, if you end up choosing, like, the chaos aspiration over the bliss aspiration, like, how is that going to affect sort of, or like, what sort of effect is that going to have on the people in the world? Mm-hmm. And that's sort of still remains to be seen. But anyway, so going back to the Mass Effect thing, it kind of feels like you are encouraged to go all in on one aspiration. Because, like, in Mass Effect, you ran into a lot of decisions where if you had an extremely high level of Paragon points, you had access to that sort of story path. And it wouldn't really suit you to sort of go straight down the middle and have a balance of Paragon versus Renegade, because then you just never have enough points to go get these, like, very, like, polarizing decisions.
Oh, so it would lock you out of content.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Or paths at the very least, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And up to this point, I've never run into a node that requires more than, like, 1 or 2 crystals. And that's been fine, because that's generally what I'll have on hand. Like, every other node, I'll maybe earn just 1 or 2 crystals and put those in the bank or whatever. But I just finished this most recent chapter, and it was like, okay, this is the outcome you've reached. Here are 10, like, bliss crystals. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's a lot. I wonder if there's something later on that's going to require like 50 crystals or some immensely large number where there's just no way, if I hadn't been sort of stockpiling crystals all in this one direction, I'd be able to access. So I'm not totally sure if that is something that happens, but I wonder how much I should be preferring one of the 6 aspirations over the other ones, or if I should be trying to maintain a balance. Because it feels like the whole name of the game is harmony. Like, you should be trying to maintain a balance between all 6 of them, right? You wouldn't want it to veer too far in one direction.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it seems like, well, maybe that's what you need to do just because of the way they've designed this thing. So, not totally clear.
Chaos is the opposite of harmony.
Yes. Yeah, I'm confused with, like, there's even a guy just who shows up and he's like, oh yeah, I'm the chaos aspiration. And the other ones don't seem to get along with him. But we'll see. It's been, just as sort of like disparate as the 2 halves of the story have been up to this point. It's been very entertaining. The real world segment is sort of a conspiracy, sort of detective investigation as you're trying to figure out what happened to your mother. And then the reverie side of it is just like, I don't really understand what is going on with these 6 gods or whatever, but I'm very curious to see where it ends up. So anyway, that is Harmony, the Fall of Reverie. I've been playing a lot of these sort of narrative adventure games lately, but this one is it's very different from all the previous ones that I've played in recent memory. So very cool.
Sounds like a bit of a detour for them too. I think, thematically, I think they experiment a little bit. The Life is Strange games definitely seem to have been born from the Telltale template, but definitely did their own thing, with mixed results, I felt sometimes. Yeah. This feels kind of equally ambitious, I think.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they were willing to just be like, oh yeah, here's the whole like story tree. Just like take a look at it and you can just access it at any point in the game. It's kind of surprising just how transparent they were being with it. But like you said, kind of experimental. So why not try it this one time and see how it works?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I should mention, so Lena Raine did the soundtrack. She did Celeste and Chicory most recently. That's sort of how I got introduced to this game. I was like, oh, a new album out from Lena Raine, and it's pretty different, pretty subdued compared to a lot of her previous work, but it's still really good. So it's nice to have that on in the background as I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
As you're banking chaos points.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Well, that's cool. It looks really neat. I'm looking at screenshots and stuff. It's
visually also very striking. Very colorful, very sort of lively characters. There's quite a few animation sequences early on, and then the rest of it sort of turns into like the Phoenix Wright style talking heads.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, it's more or less a visual novel, but just great to look at. Really good art direction.
Man, bonus points for all the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney references on this show.
Yeah. Oh, here's one more. I noticed. I mean, this is not Ace Attorney. This is another callback. I realized as I was looking up the cast list that one of the prominent characters, actually 2 of the prominent characters, are played by the same voice actor who does Urianger from Final Fantasy XIV, who we won't understand who that is, but
I won't.
In Final Fantasy, he's the guy who always talks like he has this really elevated speech. He sounds like he's in like a Shakespeare play or something, and everybody else is just like, why is he always talking like that? Nobody else in the world talks like him. So it's hilarious to hear that guy just playing like this totally normal human character, just saying stuff that people would say.
Oh, it'd be funny if that was his speech thing again. It was.
Oh yeah, that was like his whole shtick. It's like, yeah,
every character
I can come work for you, but I'm gonna talk like this. I'm just like, oh jeez.
That's funny. Cool. Sounds neat.
Yeah, it's pretty fun so far.
Before we wrap up, I want to recommend another quick little kind of fun gaming experience I've been poking at lately. There's this game called Prose and Codes, and it's PROSE, so that pros, not professionals.
Got it. I was thinking like pros and cons, but It's actually like prose. It's very confusing.
Prose before codes.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going with that, but yeah. So this is a fun little like a puzzle game, essentially, kind of a literary puzzle game. It's available on Switch. I'm sorry, it's not available on Switch. I apologize. It's available on Steam, and it's available on itch. That's how I made that mistake.
Oh.
It's only $8. And there's a ton of content in it. It's a cipher game. You get a quote from some literary masterpiece on the screen. And you have to figure out which letter is switched with the right letter, and solve the puzzle and complete the quote. That's the hook. You do that over and over for 300 times.
It's just like 5,000 of these for you to do.
Well, it's set up like a library, so you have like the kids section, the adventure section, the horror, sci-fi, and stuff like that, and each of the books that you take off the shelf and open up is kind of mistranslated with a cipher, and you have to, use your clues. Like 3-letter word might be maybe the first one is a T, and you kind of drop that in. And the cool thing is it sort of has like an express kind of version of it, where if you select a letter, it'll highlight every other letter that is ciphered that way in the puzzle, and you drop it in once, and it changes all of them for you. So you're kind of assembling the quote on the fly based on the words that you can kind of suss out. And as you start piecing more and more of it together, the quote sort of becomes clearer, obviously, and then the solution becomes a little clearer at that point once you get a sense of it. But it's cool. You can start with no hints, where you just start with the blank puzzle and you have to sort of figure out the cipher on your own. Or you can do sort of like a slightly easier mode, where it'll give you 3 of the letters switched for you already. Or the more kind of like, I guess, easy mode is it'll switch 6 of them for you, and you have to figure out the other 20.
Oh, well, you don't want that.
No, so I thought I did at first. I started with 3 translated for me, and I was like, nope, too easy. So I turned them off, and just started like reverse engineering my way back into some of these puzzles, and trying to complete the quotes. And it's fun. It's a time killer. It's a little bit of a time burner. You get no like punishment for mistranslating something. So if you drop a letter in incorrectly, it doesn't tell you that it's wrong. So you can be very
that's
wrong.
Good, I think.
Yeah, no, I prefer that. Absolutely. I don't want to drop a letter in and it goes, and you have to sort of like think through it again. You should be allowed, I think, in a cipher puzzle to kind of make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
I got so far into a puzzle one time, and I had completely screwed up a couple of the letters, and nothing made sense. And I'm like, I don't know what this language is, but it's certainly not language. So I had to kind of work backwards to the point where I had made the mistake and delete the mistranslated letters. And again, no punishment for that, except for making, your solution of the puzzle even harder. There's no ticking clock. You could take 3 hours to solve a puzzle if you want to, and there's no punishment for that. I just think it has a really kind of smart, kind of easy to consume model for solving puzzles, which I really like.
I was going to say there's no punishment, except you don't get the decoded message to the Allies in time. They get bombed by the Germans.
That'd be the story mode, I guess, maybe. But no, there's no story mode that I'm aware of. It's cool that it's just kind of like easy and lazy to consume. You get like classical music or new age music kind of playing in the background, and I've during kind of a work from home day, I kind of had it on the big monitor running on Steam, and I would do a work, send some emails, took a conference call, and noodling around with a couple of puzzles and kind of plugging them in, and like nice music playing in the background. It's just kind of ticking away, doing its thing, and going back to it when I can. And I'm like, this is great. This should be on my phone. This would be like the perfect like standing in line at the bank thing.
That would be good.
Yeah. So yeah, I like it. It's fun. I guess your mileage may vary. It really is just that 300 times. Each genre has 50 puzzles. And it's only $8. So there's a ton of content here. If this seems fun to you, if you're the kind of person that likes crossword puzzles and anagrams and stuff like that, this is probably right in your wheelhouse.
Do the ciphers ever get more complex than just sort of the 1-to-1 replacement? Do you ever have to do?
They have not in any of the puzzles that I've done thus far. No, it's really just the 1-to-1. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how they would even like add on to that, but it makes me curious just thinking about, like code breakers or whatever.
Yeah.
Like what sort of sophisticated ciphers you'd have to break.
Yeah, nothing I've encountered thus far. Maybe I don't know if they've got a plan for a sequel where they crank it up a notch or something, but I don't think it's trying to sort of be that. I don't think it's, aspiring to break your brain. I think it really is just sort of like, trying to tap on your maybe literary mindedness, and people like quotes. I think that's cool too, is that you complete a little quote and you're like, oh, it's from Frankenstein. And it doesn't tell you obviously the author or the book or anything. There's stuff that kind of pops up where, like, as it fills them in, I'm like, oh, I've heard that quote before. It's from, Don Quixote or something like that. And I didn't know that. So it's cool. It feels, I feel a little smarter when I complete some of these puzzles, and I'm like, that's a nice feeling. That feels good. I like when a game does that. Yeah. The other thing I'll mention here is that this is done in support of Project Gutenberg, which, for those who don't know, is an online ebook library of free ebooks. They have 70,000 plus titles. They're all public domain books, but they run on just about any device. You can download them and read Frankenstein or Don Quixote or Romeo and Juliet or anything that's obviously not copywritten, but sort of exists out in the world. And it's a way of kind of preserving these things and making them accessible to tons of people. It's all run through volunteer hours and donation dollars. And a couple of bucks from the purchase of every copy of Prose and Codes goes to supporting Project Gutenberg. And in fact, upon completion of one of the quotes, there's a link at the end that you tap, and it'll download a copy of the ebook of the book that quote came from for you. So what a cool thing if, you read a quote that you like and it maybe gets you to read the book or read some of the book at the very least. I think that's a really kind of cool. I don't know. How many video games have you played got you to read a book? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
That's really neat. So,
are you filling up your Steam Deck with all these like PDFs of famous literature now?
I actually haven't been running it on the Steam Deck. I've been just playing it on my computer here at my desk.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like it's kind of a fun multitasker, I think. Just because it doesn't sort of punish you for taking your time with some of the puzzles, and I can kind of go back to it when I feel like it. And I like the music too. I think it's kind of nice. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun with this. I put quite a few hours into it the last couple of weeks. It is called Prose and Codes. Like I said, it's on Switch. No, I keep doing that. It's on itch, not Switch, and it's on Steam. It's only $8, and I'd recommend it if you enjoy this kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Switch owners can just play that Ghost Trick demo instead. That's
right.
Basically
there you go.
the same
If you have Switch, just go play Ghost Trick.
Huh. Ah, man, this sounds like something I might be able to get into.
Yeah.
I like just sort of untangling a puzzle, as it were.
Yeah. It is that. There's a couple of cool little accessibility things in it, too. There's a visual impairment mode that makes all the letters much bigger, and a couple of things like that. So if, I think if people are differently abled and are coming to this, there are a couple of things in the settings that will make it easier for you to consume and play along. So that is a nice little touch as well. I appreciate when developers do that.
Cool.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all I did this week. And in like 30 hours of Zelda, but.
Oh, geez. I played some Zelda this week, as it turns out.
Hey, you're right.
Yeah. Man, that game is like amazing game, but just so like frustrating for me to play in very specific ways. Because I load it up and I'm like, I'm going to do this one specific thing, and I don't get anywhere close to doing that one thing.
Yeah, I can identify with that. Absolutely. I go into it sometimes with an objective. I'm going to do this puzzle. I'm going to go to this place and do this thing. Yeah, for a long time, I was just doing all temples and all towers. I was just trying to open up as much of the map as I possibly could, because stumbling around in the dark was not working for me. And yeah, and on the pathway to like, oh, there's a temple over there, I get distracted and end up running errands for somebody and chasing down a horse and helping a Korok find his friend.
Yep.
And then
no, I don't
3
do
hours
that.
have passed.
I specifically do not do that
No,
anymore.
you're taking a hard stand on the Koroks, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what, you want me to put an apple in this bowl? Sure. You want me to cart you like 10 miles across the map? No, you can like work that out on your own.
Tell your friend to get over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm definitely sympathetic to that. And Yeah. That's it. I mean, that's the appeal of it, though, right? In some ways.
It is,
Maybe?
yeah. I'm just frustrated because I was like, I really just want to do one more of the dungeon things, and I was like, I don't know realistically how long that will actually take me to accomplish because of all the other stuff that you get sidetracked into doing, or all the prerequisite stuff. So I'm treating it as like, if I have a couple hours and I want some sort of shapeless Zelda flavored entertainment, I'll just throw this on, and who knows what will happen.
Well, that's some of my logic for unlocking the towers early, is that now I have fast travel points all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it does make some of that, what should be a 3-minute walk turns into a 4-hour, deep dive and detour into the world of, what is this game called? Into the world of The Legend of Zelda. And now I can just sort of open up the map and zip over to a place and not get distracted by that stuff. But yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, once you have it all unlocked, but the first time
Yeah.
you go anywhere, that's when you run into everything, because you're just like,
oh yeah,
oh, what is this thing that I didn't expect would be in my path? I'd better take care of this, because if I don't, I'll probably never find it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had a gaming experience fairly early on where I was walking, and then found myself on a bluff overlooking the castle, big grassy field. And I had just been walking for hours, and I'm like, what am I even doing here? What was my goal again? So yeah, I was way off the path, and I need a checklist. I need to do my dailies in Zelda or whatever it is. I just need to have some sort of framework around how I approach this game, or it's just going to be a 600-hour experience.
Yeah.
And I'll never see the end.
Yep. No, I like the thing you said the first week it came out, where you're like, I can't possibly just blitz this in 2 weeks. This is going to be something I play for the next 6 months. And I'm slowly realizing it'll probably be, I mean, it may very well be 2024 by the time I see credits on this thing at this rate.
I mean, one of those months has already gone by. So
yes. Yeah.
At this point, you should be about 100 hours in.
Oh, jeez. I do want to make some progress, because I want to see all the spoilery stuff that people are talking about. But it's hard to find a balance.
People said the ending is quite good.
Yes, that's the sort of stuff where I was like, when is that going to happen? I don't
know. Cool. Well, we'll come back to that. We'll keep everybody abreast of our progress.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we're going to wrap this thing up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And don't forget, you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to hang out with us on Discord and chat about video games and other fun pop culture things. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com. And we would encourage you, of course, to subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice. And maybe help us out by telling your friends about the show.
Yeah, really helps us get the word out, bring in new listeners, so we appreciate that a lot. We also appreciate Fear of Dark for our intro and outro music this week. If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to fearofdark.bandcamp.com, listen to all his stuff, maybe buy an album or two.
Nice.
Maybe buy all of the albums.
That's the ultimate way to show your appreciation.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.